All right, we are live. So, I'm going to make a quick introduction in German. Also Leute, wir sind jetzt hier live mit Peter McCormack aus England und heute das Ganze auf Englisch, weil Peter spricht natürlich kein Deutsch. Also, let's go. Okay, guys, I'm here with Peter. Peter from England, right?
Yes, guten Tag.
Guten Tag, yeah, nice.
Wie geht's?
So, good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, man. I'm pretty good. That's all I remember from German at school, by the way.
That's more than enough.
No, I think I remember like, hast du Geschwister? That's like, have you got a brother or sister?
Yeah, hast du eine Schwester?
Ich habe einen Bruder und eine Schwester.
Okay, nice. That's what you remembered from school, right?
That's it, but like we'll have to do the rest in English. So
yeah, no problem. I mean, my audience is German, obviously, but I'm hoping the majority or many will understand what we're talking about. Anyways, I hope we're going to have a nice chat about Bitcoin because, I mean, I've been reading about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Twitter is basically one of the places I go to get some news and see what's happening in the ecosystem, see who's talking about what. And I've been following you quite a while. I've been listening to your podcast. Maybe we're going to talk about your podcast a little later because Peter is doing a great podcast about Bitcoin. It's called What Bitcoin Did and some other things. And he had a very, very interesting Twitter post the other day, which basically blew up, right? Mm-hmm. So tell me what happened. I mean, of course, tell the audience how you got into Bitcoin and basically the little story how it led up to this Twitter post blowing up.
Yeah, I knew, I expected it to get a reaction, not the reaction it did. It's a little bit overwhelming. So I guess what happened, I'll tell you how I got into Bitcoin. So I did it twice, right? I first got in about 2013, kind of heard about it. I worked in tech, so I was like, oh, this sounds kind of interesting. So bought a little, sent some to some friends and back. And then the price started to go a little bit crazy. So I started trading CFDs on plus 500, made a lot of money very quickly, but also then lost a lot of money very quickly. We used to get these flash crashes where the price would just dip below your stop loss and you get wiped out. Very emotional experience, but it was fun. But I was like, this isn't for me. So got out, but then just always kept an eye on the price and just kept watching it dip and dip and dip and dip. And then sort of started to see it go back up again. I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. And then back in December 16, I've told the story so many times, but basically my mum was sick. My mum, she had cancer. We wanted to get her a treatment. The only way you could buy it was online using Bitcoin. So I just said to my dad, I know how to do this. So we went on to Coinbase. Well, I went on to Google. I searched for buy Bitcoin, found Coinbase. I think Bitcoin was about $600 or $700 at the time, so we bought one, bought the treatment, and there was a bit of Bitcoin left over. Sadly, my mum passed away, and I was in Ireland at my dad's. He lives in the middle of nowhere, so I went back. I transferred the leftover Bitcoin back into Coinbase, and then I saw this Ethereum thing that was at $9, and I was out of work at the time, but had some money, so I thought, right, let's buy some, just. Kind of instinct, just kind of without really thinking. So I put what was £23,000, about $32,000 into Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then quickly bought everything. And loads of stuff's happened over the last 2 years. But basically, as you know, you saw the article. I think at peak I grew it to it was over 1.2 million. It may even have been higher. I may have even been higher. I've not properly tracked what I put into mining or whatever. And then over the space of this year, this has gradually gone down to, there'll come a point where I'll audit and I'll close down my mining and I will audit, and it won't be materially above probably my initial investment. To say to zero is probably an exaggeration, but materially above my original investment. So I was like weirdly enough, I'm okay with it, right? I would love to go back in time and have sold it all, but hindsight's hindsight, right? I don't regret the last 2 years at all because I've had a great time. It's quite funny because I've put the tweet out online and some people have, lots of people are very cool. And then you have these messages where people are like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you know, I'm fine. This is okay."
I mean, but
also,
you hear stories of people like, I mean, I get messages because I'm very open in the cryptocurrency market in Germany. I get messages from people saying, "Oh, I lost this and that amount, and I'm not feeling very good. I don't know how to explain to my family." And I mean, they are in a very bad place, some of them.
Yeah, so, yeah, but also, conversely, I've had people try and mock me and call me an idiot. Like, "You're an idiot, basic TA, you're greedy, this." And I was like, okay, all right, whatever. Like, I'm totally fine with it. Like, life's good. I've got 2 beautiful children. I'm not broke. You know, I've got a podcast that has, like, life's fine. But what was happening was I knew, based on when I entered the market and my experience, that if I was kind of still had money left over, not a lot, there were going to be people seriously underwater with initial investments. And I just kept seeing this, you know, when the next bull run happens, and I was thinking, this is madness. Like, you cannot base your life expecting a bull run. You know, and I started to get a bit kind of concerned. So I was like, that was worrying me. And also, look, if one does happen, I don't want people to go through what I went through. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put this out there. Nobody's talking about this. I've always been like a transparent guy. You know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're so brave, you're so courageous." I didn't really see it like that. I actually quite enjoyed writing it. I find writing cathartic. So I just put it out there without really thinking about it. And yeah, like 7,800 likes, 2,500 retweets, like different news and media organizations getting in touch. It's a bit like, whoa. I expected people to take an interest, but I'm a bit blown away by how much interest there was.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, if you look at the hype, you know, when I started my show in January 2017, Bitcoin was under $1,000, and I told people, I mean, it's a great technology. Look at what it can do. It's giving you back the sovereignty of your money. It's decentralized. All those selling points basically of Bitcoin, and nobody really was listening. They looked at the chart and said, $1,000, it's way too expensive. And in December, that's the time people came to me actually saying, "Hey, how do I buy this thing? I mean, it's 12,000, 13,000. This is when they started, and I'm pretty sure the majority of people, they got in when it went over 10,000, and it's just like this mass hysteria, the hype which caught them. And I mean, I remember the feeling last Christmas. You know, in winter I always I'm not in such a good mood. You know, Germany, it's cold, it's dark, and you don't feel like I don't know, going out that much and stuff. But in the morning you wake up, or I woke up, checked my portfolio, and I had a huge grin on my face. Yeah. You know.
And now you're scared. Now you get to the point where you're scared to look at your portfolio. But you know what the interesting thing was, right? My DMs are open on Twitter. I've probably, like, I haven't counted them. I would estimate 200 to 300 DMs, of which half of them are people telling me their own story now. Yeah. You know, and it's a range. The proportions are the same, but it's a range. You know, someone might put 2,000 in and made 100,000, lost it. There was one guy who grew $6,500 to 2.5 million, all gone. And then another person told me that they had 8 figures. They didn't tell me, yeah, we're in 8 figures, but you're talking over 10 million, and they had about 300,000 left. So, like, it's happening everywhere. And I imagine to individuals, to funds, to investors, you know. And I think, like, it doesn't change my opinion on Bitcoin, but it is something that I think needs talking about a bit more openly.
True. I mean, your message really was a catalyst. I mean, I got lots of messages as well after sharing your story, and it's just weird how human psychology works. You know, I mean, I've made lots of money. I've lost lots of money. I've been through different cycles, not with Bitcoin, but general in making money. And sometimes, I mean, today, if you look back just a year ago, yeah, to December last year, and I know if you try to get back into this feeling, see, I mean, I had basically enough money to pay rent, to pay my bills for a number of years, maybe, or even longer. And so many people were in the same position. They basically were paper rich, right? Yeah. And I don't know, for some reason, it didn't even cross my mind to cash out. I mean, for me, I don't know how it was about you, but for me, there were 2 reasons. First, I didn't want to cash out because of tax reasons. I mean, I didn't want to pay tax on it. But the second more important reason was I didn't get into Bitcoin to as an investment. Sure, I wanted to make money, true. But I got into Bitcoin to get out of the euro to get out of this broke financial system we're in. I don't want to change my Bitcoins back to the old system we have. I mean, still we need to a little bit, but this wasn't my intention. How about you? What was your reason really for getting in?
Getting in, well, I was out of work. So I used to work in advertising in London. I had an advertising agency, but I got divorced and kind of fell out of love with it. So that eventually went bust. I had some money left over. There was no real plan. I was just like, I'm just going to buy some of this stuff and see what happens. And then it just went crazy. And I can't give any kind of real ideological reasons for doing it. The kind of the love for Bitcoin has come since because of reading about it and learning about it and doing the podcast, etc. But I think the other thing is like people have this kind of belief that having lots of money is going to make their life better. And definitely, like this money doesn't buy you happiness. Sure, it definitely helps, right? Like having a lot of money is fun. You know, I've had some fun. Like I had to catch a flight once and I was knackered and I was like, I've got 1.2 million. I can fly first class. So I flew first class, right? Like I would never do that normally because it's so expensive. But I did it, you know, and I bought an expensive watch and a new car and had holidays. That is fun. But at the end of the day, like when you get into bed, you know, if you're on your own or you feel sad, you got problems in your life, money doesn't change any of that, right? It just fundamentally doesn't. And anyone who thinks if they're going to get a load of money, it's going to make them happier, it's not. Actually, all money does is, I think, it kind of amplifies whatever you're feeling. If you have loads of money and you feel down, you're probably going to still feel down, and vice versa. And also, because I've lost everything twice, the second time it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah. It just happens. I mean, how does this saying go? Some rich people are just rich people, are just poor people with a lot of money, right?
Yeah, maybe.
So,
I mean, you see it like with footballers, right? Like footballers, you've got these people on 100 grand a week, 200 grand a week, and they're miserable and depressed, and you just get stupid people say, "Oh, how can they be depressed? They're so rich." It's just like, come on, man, get in the real world.
I'm pretty sure, like after 1 year of bear market here, some people are very discouraged. I mean, you can read on Twitter, you see people quitting this whole thing, and I mean, for me, they got in for the wrong reasons, right? I mean, I really want to change the world to the better. You know, maybe this new money system with cryptocurrency is going to make the world a better place. I don't know yet, you know, but this is a chance we have now, and this is one of the reasons I got into this whole thing. And I mean, in the back of your on your shelf, is that I am Berliner?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is he doing there?
I just keep him there. I don't know. I put him there one day. I think it was the day he blocked me on Twitter. I used to troll him just for fun, and then he blocked me. So ever since he's blocked me, yeah, he's been on there. Yeah.
So did you invest in any of the ICOs he recommended?
No, I never followed. I only have invested in actually 2 ICOs. Both an absolute disaster. Yeah, ICOs aren't for me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, same with me. I mean, I invested in a few, but not really a lot of money, just a very tiny amount. And I mean, it's always like if you remember 2017, like anybody just drew up a white paper, they put up a website, and some of the companies, they raised millions and millions and millions of dollars, and basically it was just nothing more than a website and a paper. And I mean, if you look back now, I remember clearly in December looking at the top 20 or top 30 coins, they were all worth over $1 billion US, and I was thinking, I mean, is this thing really worth $1 billion? And I mean, and I still didn't think about cashing out, you know.
Yeah, I think like it's easy to look back and go, oh, of course, but you know, like none of us should beat ourselves up, you know. It's
but I mean, I always keep telling people never invest more than you can lose. But I have the feeling that the majority of people they lost. I mean, they went all in for some of them, and they didn't really think.
Well, there was a guy on Twitter yesterday, no, on Reddit, on the Bitcoin, the RBTC forum, I think, who sold his house, $260,000. His investment's now worth $6,300. A house he took ages to buy. I mean, who would recommend doing that, right? That's dumb. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. I mean, some people are just they just want to they FOMO in, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to happen again. So sooner or later, once the prices go back up, I mean, you have learned a lot. I mean, everyone has learned a lot. Hopefully, the last 2 years or however long they've been. So what's your main learning from the whole story that happened?
Gosh, I mean, so many. I can't have one. There's so many different angles. If you're asking me about trading, it's like I'm not a trader. Yeah. That's the first thing. I'm not cut out for it. I don't enjoy it. I don't have the analytical skills or the patience. So my biggest lesson is don't chase money. Like just I wouldn't even say do that, like the whole find something you're passionate about, because I just say like just the harder you work for your money, the more important that money becomes. Easy money's like comes easy, goes easy. So my biggest lesson is just to like not be a trader and focus on what I'm good at, and that I think is making podcasts.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what you do now. I mean, you have a successful podcast. You know, it's called What Bitcoin Did. And when did you start that? And what are you doing with your podcast?
Yeah, so that was November 17th. I've got a friend in Los Angeles called Rich Roll, who's got a very successful podcast. A really good guy. I was out there visiting another friend, and then I bumped into him, and I was like, look, I'm thinking of doing a podcast on this Bitcoin thing. You know, how does it work? And he was like, he just told me, and I ended up watching a Pat Flynn. Pat Flynn's got like an intro to podcasting, so I ended up watching that, and then I decided I'm going to do it. I reached out to Luke Martin, Venture Coinist on Twitter. I said, look, I'm going to do this podcast. I know you're in LA. I'm in LA. Do you fancy it? And he said, yeah. So I bought the equipment on Amazon, got an Uber over to his house. We recorded the first episode, and it went from there. And again, there wasn't like a huge plan. It's just is what it is. It's just something like anything I do in life, I work hard at, and I've worked hard at, and it's gone really well. And I've had so much support and help from so many people that, yeah, I'm a year in, 57 episodes, and yeah, it's going well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I mean, I've been listening to your podcast because you had some very, very interesting guests as well. I mean, who was your favorite guest so far?
Oh, good question. Favorite guest? I mean, different ones for different reasons. I always say my first interview with Lynn Ulbrich, Ross Ulbricht's mum, was a very important interview for me for the podcast. I think for me personally, because it wasn't really a Bitcoin interview. You know, Bitcoin is tied heavily to the Silk Road and Ross's story. But I wasn't interviewing about Bitcoin. It was a personal story, and I had to prepare in a very different way. So I like that. I really enjoyed my interview with Roger Ver, despite everyone hating me for doing it, because it was such a challenge to interview somebody like him. Yeah. And then I really enjoyed my interview with Nick Carter, just because he's so smart, and we just really bonded well in the interview. But I know it's like picking children. I like most of them for one reason or another.
I mean, it's still a very small space. I mean, even after this hype last year, it's still a very, very small space, especially with prominent figures like, I mean, Trace Mayer, Roger Ver, and Max Kaiser, all those media personalities, right? And I mean, I listened to your interview with Roger, and I mean, you would like basically before you went into the interview, you were talking about Roger, and with all this Bcash and hate, and I mean, I talked a lot about Bitcoin Cash in my show as well, because I found it a very useful coin, you know, because if I sent someone Bitcoin Cash, and it was very cheap, it was very fast, and I like things that are useful, like Dash or like other coins which work. And I mean, I remember in December last year, I wanted to send money from my wallet to an exchange, and it was like $40 to send the money, the Bitcoin, and I was like, oh no, fuck it, I'm not going to spend $40 just to send my money, right?
Yeah, it didn't bother me because I was like.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you
paid the Millionaire. Yeah, I think the thing is like you know, I'm on this full time, dude. Like, 2 interviews a week, all day researching or engineering. I'm just soaking up information, and the more I soaked up, the more I realized we just don't need all these cryptocurrencies. Yeah, I understand competition, but it just makes sense. It doesn't make sense to have all these different currencies that aren't being used that much, and there is there's so many things that are important about Bitcoin that for me it's where I want to put my effort now. It is the most decentralized. It is, you know, the most successful, the longest standing. It survived so much. I think I just want personally to put my effort into there. Remain open-minded to anything else, but yeah, that's where I want to put my effort.
So basically, the whole crash made you a Bitcoin maximalist?
No, she says, like, I've had people say that, you know. Like I even had it this week where a guy was like, "Oh, now you're 85% down on Bitcoin that sorry, you've lost all your money. Now you're talking about warning people. And it's actually, so I actually sent them to a link on my blog where I wrote about this in February. You know, I was still materially paper rich in February. Now I've been talking about it for a long time. I've definitely not become, I'd never say I'm a maximalist. I sympathize with it. It's not because of the bear market. Like, again, a lot of people said that. It's because of the work I do. You know, I spend at least a day prepping each interview. You know, you're talking about 56 days prepping interviews and doing interviews and follow-ups and other research. It's a natural conclusion from everything I've read. There won't be many people who've read more than me. Sure. There will be more, but not many. And it's just a natural conclusion from my research.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said. You know, when you look at the coin market cap valuation of the coins in December last year, it was just insane how much money some shit coins were really worth. You know, it's like it didn't have really a working product. You know, it was all speculation, which is fine. I mean, I don't mind speculation, and I mean, it propels the whole ecosystem forward. And obviously, after the hype, we're gonna sort out these guys or these projects which don't bring anything useful to the table, right? And obviously this is what's happening now.
Yeah. So one of the discussions I've had with maximalists and said is, and actually I discussed this with Pierre Richard, and I'm pretty sure he agreed with me, is that despite all the bullshit and all the stupid coins and everything, there is a net benefit to Bitcoin. Okay. All these different cryptocurrencies, all the FOMO it created, all the projects, all the press. Even if everything dies, it will have had a net benefit to Bitcoin because of increased exposure. And I say that's a good thing. And, you know, despite losing all that money, especially all that money on mining, I still feel kind of like I've contributed for a period of time to the security of the Bitcoin network, which I'm glad. And yes, I might have lost a bunch of money, but again, I've contributed towards Bitcoin and I'm cool with that. And listen, look, I see it's probably binary. Bitcoin's going to be like a huge success or it's going to die. If it's a huge success, I think I'll probably do okay with, like, I'll be able to create a meaningful living with my podcast, and so it kind of will all have been worth it.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the good things, you know. I mean, I really like people who contribute to the system in one way or another, you know, doing a show, doing a podcast, doing videos, whatever it is. I mean, I really believe that this has the power to change the world, and I mean, there are lots of other people who believe the same thing. How did you hear about the proof of, what was this, proof of keys?
Yeah, I've got it in my handle, and I'm interviewing Trace Mayer today.
Ah, you're interviewing Trace Mayer. I mean, Trace Mayer, I mean, I came across him quite often, but I think he recommended Bitcoin like when it was 25 cents or something, right? I mean, he's a really knowledgeable guy, and this thing, what he's suggesting with proof of keys, maybe you can just share a little bit about that.
Well, I think he wants a couple of things. People shouldn't be keeping their coins on exchanges. And also, it's kind of like a test to see if any exchanges are going to be running fractional reserves. So if everyone,
I'm pretty sure that's coming, right? I mean, now just if you look at the industry, first everyone hated the banks and hated Wall Street, and now everyone is begging, please, Wall Street, come in, pump our bags, bring the ETF, and I'm pretty sure they're going to create like fractional reserve Bitcoining. They're going to say, yeah, if you have a Bitcoin in your wallet, you can lend out 100 Bitcoin.
Fractional reserve Bitcoin is optional, right? You choose to be part of it or don't. You know, if you choose to hold your private keys, you don't have fractional reserve Bitcoin. If you don't, and you get caught up in it, that's your fault. It worries me. I think it has the potential, but it worries me less. I'm less worried about it. The only annoying thing about it is it kind of affects the scarcity and price. But, you know, I think just as Andreas has always said, and Trace is saying now, have your private keys. It's so important. Yeah, have your private keys.
Yeah, I mean, education is a huge part in all of this. I mean, if you have money on the exchange, it's like having money in the bank account. I mean, it's not your money. If you put money in your bank, it's not yours. If you have money on the exchange, it's not yours. And the whole thing on the January the 3rd is to withdraw money, the Bitcoin, from the exchanges to your wallet where you own the private keys. Yeah? If you don't own the keys, they are not your coins, and it might create some I don't know, what's the right word for it? Just imagine all the people doing it.
Huh? It's like a run on the bank, but the thing is, like, yeah. some people could exploit this. I mean, I don't know if enough people are going to see it and it's going to make a difference, right? But some people could exploit it, because if you're taking your coins off the exchange, it might cause the price to go up, and some people will just leave their coins on the exchange to exploit it. So I don't know, it could be interesting. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a couple of weeks till the 3rd of January, so I'm very looking forward to that day and see if people actually gonna do it. My feeling is that the majority of people, they really don't care. They don't even know. You know, if you buy Bitcoin on Coinbase, I mean, it's working fine. In the US, you can withdraw Coinbase your money to PayPal instantly now. I mean, it looks like the whole owning your own money, like the sovereignty, having the sovereignty over your money, is slowly going away. It's going the same direction. I have the feeling that it went with the banks. You know, back in the days, banks were just custodians of your money. Now, really, they do lots of other shit with your money.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, for some people, like if it was my dad, I would prefer him to have his coins on Coinbase than on a wallet, because I wouldn't trust him with the wallet.
Sure. I mean, obviously, the coins are safer on a trusted exchange like Coinbase for many people. I mean, they might lose their keys or forget something. I mean, I know friends, I mean, especially from the earlier days, who got into Bitcoin very early. I mean, they're all paranoid, kind of, you know. It's like they try to protect their keys and do like super encrypted passwords and all that crazy shit. And I mean, I know lots of stories from people who lost their keys, and they lost a considerable amount of Bitcoin, of Ethereum, of other coins, and I mean, which are worth millions even today, right?
Yeah, it's very sad. Oh God.
Yeah, but I mean, in the end, I mean, it's all on paper. If you don't have it in your bank account, it's not really yours. So how do you? What's if you future plans with your show? I mean, you're just going to concentrate on your podcast, or you don't do anything else with your show?
No, just concentrate on the podcast. You know, continue to grow it, continue to have good guests, make it like a consistent source of income. I would like to do more video interviews, or like on location, so go and visit people and do video interviews. But yeah, that's my focus now. I'd like to write more. I really enjoy writing, but it's about like finding the time. But I'd like to write more. I think I've got a book in me at some point, so I'd like to have a go at writing a book about, I don't know, some aspect of Bitcoin. But yeah, just focus on the podcast. I mean, that takes a lot of time up, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it does. I mean, I do 5 videos a week, and I mean, it's work, but I wouldn't do anything else. I mean, I love what I do. I love this whole ecosystem, especially I love the people in this community, like-minded people, you know. So, yeah. What's your take on the whole Bitcoin forking stuff, like Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV now? I mean, I went to the Bitcoin SV conference in London the other week. Yeah.
Why waste your time with that?
Just to see how they take, you know, what's going through their head, what's going on, really, you know. And say again?
Are you a big blocker?
I mean, I like big blocks. I mean, I don't mind like big blocks. I mean, just imagine if you could go back and just raise the Bitcoin blocks to 2 megabytes or 4 megabytes. I mean, we wouldn't have any of the Bitcoin forks. You know,
yeah.
Is that the right way to go? I don't know. I mean, Lightning is still not there yet, really, but it might be in a few months, a few years. Who knows? Nobody really knows the right path, in my opinion. It's all an experiment, and some people go this way, the other go this way, and hopefully one of those coins will survive and be money for the world.
I think a lot of the thoughts comes down to ego as well. Like the split on Bitcoin Cash now is really coming down to ego, as people say, I want it this way, and somebody else saying, no, I want it that way, which is completely antithetical to the decentralized nature of Bitcoin. I mean, you only have to read Jameson's Lopp's article this week about who controls Bitcoin Core to understand how decentralized this is. You know, the likes of Calvin Ayre and Craig Wright are not people I just would want to trust or put my weight behind what they're doing. It's antithetical to what Bitcoin is. So no. I also think I've listened to Jameson Lopp talk about, he talked about it on my podcast actually, why small blocks are so important. And I completely support that now. Yes, there are some frustrations. I sympathize with some of the frustrations of big block people, but I think you have to go with kind of social consensus on this. And social consensus is with smaller blocks. And if you fork off just because you disagree, then you're basically saying social consensus is wrong and you're right. No, good luck to you with your project. You're welcome to fork. But if you then fork and then call it Bitcoin and then you mislead people, then, well, basically, I don't really like it.
I mean, I mean, I think it's important that everyone does their own thing now. I mean, with the split in Bitcoin Cash, I mean, it was a huge loss for the whole ecosystem, and I mean, everyone can do what they want. Everyone can do what they want to. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really care as long as there's one coin in the end, which gives us more freedom, gives us control over money, and I'm pretty sure that Bitcoin has the biggest chance. You know. Bitcoin is not always that what people wanted it to be in the beginning. You know, people if people have a certain opinion about Bitcoin, being it digital gold or whatever, that's just the way it is. You know, you cannot change it. I mean, why do we value gold or silver or some other stuff? You know, it's just because that's the general consensus. So who knows where we will be in 10 years? You know, I don't think anybody will know, but hopefully in a better world.
Yeah, I agree. Like, who knows? But I'm not a maximalist, but certainly I'm putting all my effort and support behind Bitcoin. I think that's the most important project in crypto at the moment, and because it offers so much to the world. Like my recent interview, I don't know if you heard my one with Alex Gladstein from the Human Rights Foundation, but like that reinforces my belief that if Bitcoin is there to help support people in living under authoritarian regimes, I don't really want to trust Craig Wright or Calvin Ayre with that work.
I mean, I really went there to find out how those guys are really, what they are really thinking. And I asked around in the audience, people what was talking to them, they really believe that Bitcoin SV is Bitcoin. And I mean, they say this is Bitcoin, that's why we support it and we don't support anything else. I mean, they are really, they are fully behind their vision and whatever they do. And I mean, it's just a very interesting community, definitely. But now, let them go their way. Let's see what happens. I mean, the whole pro-government, I don't know, regulation, all that stuff. It's maybe it's the way to go long term. I personally, I don't agree with that, but we will see, right?
Yeah, we will definitely see. I mean, it's interesting to watch it all play out, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we're in the middle of it, and there's nothing we can do, and just support it and get information out to the people, educate people, and I think that's one of the best ways to support the whole ecosystem. So if you're watching this and you're asking how can I contribute to this whole cryptocurrencies, what would you say to those people?
Because there's so many ways. I mean, you could be a developer. You can create content, you can create education, you can share, you can learn everything you can, and But I think we have to educate people in the right way, and it's not to tell them this is to make them rich. I think we have to educate them in a way why this benefits the world, why we should care about it, why it's important. But most likely, I think there's a cycle that plays here. There's a boom, there's a FOMO. People dive in, they learn about Bitcoin. There's a wipeout. Some people go away, some people come back. But like with each cycle, it brings a whole wave of new people in, and like a multiple of people. If there is another bull run, Bitcoin does something crazy, like goes to $100,000, there isn't going to be a single person who hasn't heard about it, who isn't thinking about buying some. That will be the bull run to end all bull runs, and we will have a global aware audience of Bitcoin. Hopefully, out of the ashes of all of that will come the infrastructure and the tools for it to be a tool for good and a tool that people can use to separate their money from state.
That's right. I mean, that's one of the most pressing issues. Separate the money from the state, get the control back. And give nobody control. I mean, it's fixed. It's mathematics. We know what's happening with Bitcoin. Nobody knows what's happening with the euro or with the pound or with the US dollar. I mean, in Britain, it's a whole different story with the Brexit now. Who knows what's going to happen there?
Yeah, oh God, that's such a mess, right?
Yeah, it is a mess. I mean, the politics is a mess, and the whole thing is a mess. And we have this migrant crisis, this crisis. Trump is trying to build a wall, and I mean, there's so many things happening these days. I mean, I'm pretty sure that we're going to have a financial meltdown very soon. Maybe in a couple months, maybe in a couple years, who knows? My belief is that in order for cryptocurrencies to really rise from the ashes, is that the financial crisis needs to happen in order to be a catalyst for this to happen, right? Because I mean, to be honest, if you speak to the average guy here in Germany, I'm pretty sure in England as well, or mainly in Europe or any developed country, they don't really see the need for Bitcoin. You say, why would I need it? I mean, my bank account works, it's fairly stable. Why would I need this? I mean, it's too complicated and it loses value. And I don't know, they don't really see the need. So I think we need a crisis. We really do need a crisis for people to wake up, because the majority, they are just sleepwalking through life. And as Henry Ford said, people don't understand the banking system. If they would understand it, there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning. And I don't see that changing without a big crisis, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. But the Bitcoin, most people don't need Bitcoin right now, right? It's not really a tool for rich Westerners. It really is a tool for those living in failed states and failed economies, is where people can't get bank accounts, or where people have capital control restrictions. It isn't really for everyone right now. It's kind of a bit of fun for people like you and I, but it's important that we build up the infrastructure for the right people. But there will come a day, I hope, where it is a global settlement layer. It is like digital gold, and then people will use it. And I think that day is coming.
Yeah, I mean, the infrastructure, I mean, even after this whole crash we had for the last 12 months, there's so much happening in the background. And one of the signs really is just remember last year, December, the exchanges had to stop new registrations. I mean, the infrastructure was not ready for that kind of attention. And it's all changing now. They are building, they are increasing their staff, they're just doing things to be prepared for an influx of new people. And the sign for me really was that if an exchange has to close down registrations, I mean, you're clearly not there. You're clearly in the hype. I still didn't see it back then, I just didn't see it now.
Well, people were selling their exchange accounts, weren't they? I mean, for like silly amounts.
Yeah, true. I mean,
that's how crazy it got.
It was a crazy year. I mean, 2017 was crazy. 2018 was crazy as well. That's just the opposite, but that's life. And I mean, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm sure you got a few things to prepare with Trace coming on today. I'm really looking forward to hearing that interview, because Trace is one of the guys I really respect, and he has deep insights in the whole economic value of Bitcoin. And I mean, he's very well connected. So I'm really looking forward to that. So if people want to get in touch with you or learn more about your podcast, where can they go?
Well, listen, I'm What Bitcoin Did everywhere. So just go onto Google. If you search for What Bitcoin Did, you'll find my website, which is whatbitcoindid.com. All the interviews are there, but it's on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube. If you want to find me on Twitter, I'm at Peter McCormak, but you can also find me on at What Bitcoin Did. Yeah, I'm pretty open. You reach out to me, you want to have a chat, I usually will talk to anyone. So yeah, and by the way, thank you for having me on your show. I really do appreciate it. I hope your show goes well. I hope hope the market stabilizes and it goes well for you too.
Yeah, thanks a lot for being here on the show. And I mean we have similar views. We went through a similar cycle like so many other people did to the last 2 years. And the guys who've been here for quite a while, they've been through this couple times. So the best thing we can do is just build, just improve, just get the message out there, educate people, and never invest more than you can use.
Yeah, and never cash out money that will, like, don't leave money in there. Don't leave money on the table that would change your life. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it was life-changing money for many people, and nobody took profits. I mean, I know one person who did take profits, and I mean, he's happy now, but the majority, they went exactly through the story you told, through this bull cycle. And I mean, that's just the way it is, the greed, the human psychology. But we're here for the long term. We're not going away. And thank you very much for being here. So if you want to find Peter, just
thank you for having me on, man.
What Bitcoin Did, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.